back in the day when I was growing up, I had a turntable and I had albums.
Oh, did you now?
Yeah.
Still do.
Up
Same
and both
ones.
ways.
I still do. I still have those albums.
Yeah.
And now I have more, but I don't have a lot of albums. Maybe 100 or so. I guess because I used to listen to the radio a lot too. You're in your car, you listen to the radio. I mean, we're talking FM radio.
That's why you had albums?
No, that's why I didn't have a lot of albums. Because, you have like our station like 97rock.com or 97 Rock here locally, right there. Streaming. They're still the same station. I listened to rock and roll when I grew up.
Yeah.
When I was in my teens and stuff. And anyway, I guess you could consider like radio is kind of like what streaming is today to people. It's except you got to pay for it.
Well, and you got no control over it.
Yeah.
Well, kind of. You can
So
call
it's the same thing, but totally different.
Well, you can get rid of commercials too.
Yeah.
Right. Like there are none.
If you pay.
There might be ads clicking around, but bottom line is that. But it's today's radio, right? And the albums were something you collected, right? You took in, you said you bought them, they were yours. You had physical media that you could pull out at any time and play it, assuming you had a record player, which of course you would if you bought albums. But anyway, point being is that, that still exists today. You still got kind of two dichotomies, so to speak. You've got physical media of some sort, which now is relegated to files, which
For
is,
the most part,
but you own it. You buy it, you own it, you have it, it's there. You can play it anytime. You don't need internet, it's there, right? And then you've got streaming services, which is like the old school radio where you can go online, you gotta have a connection, anyway, you know what I mean. And I mean the streaming services have gotten really good nowadays, but there are advantages to owning your own files, collecting music.
Yeah, we could compare and contrast between the two different formats. Because you do see a little pocket of people collecting physical media in the way of vinyl, but the adoption isn't super high, of course, especially compared to streaming. That's pretty common. Yeah. So I guess what are the pros and cons, the advantages and whatnot of both approaches? And at least for me, I never really grew up with collecting physical media. That wasn't common. I knew people that did it, but it wasn't like I'm assuming it was 20, 30, 40 years prior. People had CDs, but there were very few people that had like a big hoard or collection. It was kind of right on the edge where digital started taking off.
Yeah,
and we both
you would burn a disc, yeah.
You would steal music?
It would be a mixed disc.
Well, it was so common back then for people to steal music because there really were no ways to purchase it, or they were pretty bad. Yeah, it wasn't smooth. It was easier to steal.
Their distribution model was following the old school ways, and it wasn't up
not
to snuff
keeping up with the current.
what the kids wanted.
Yeah.
But all that got shaken out.
Yeah,
and that isn't really the issue. The issue, it's more or less about the fact that are there advantages even to like owning your files versus streaming?
Sure.
Yeah.
If the internet goes out,
that's true.
You still have it.
Yeah.
I've run into that with like movie streaming and stuff. It's like if you're so like reliant on all the things you watch are streamed and the internet goes out, you're like, I have nothing now.
That's
like,
true.
now what do you do? You're just sitting in the house.
I have no picture and no sound.
Yeah.
That would suck, actually.
I've run into one time. I was like, oh.
Remember that? What was that episode of that one cartoon where the internet went out?
Oh, yeah.
What the hell is it?
South Park.
South Park, yeah. And what was it? Someone pulled the plug on the modem? Or something?
They had a power cycle.
Right. They had unplugged the Linksys.
The blue brick or whatever, the WRT54G.
And everyone's going through withdrawal symptoms in the whole world, whole planet, because there was no internet.
Yeah.
People were shaking.
It is a problem. I mean, you're relying on the internet connection.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's really easy to not quite fully understand how reliant you are on something until it isn't there.
Yeah.
Because things like internet and power in a lot of developed countries is very reliable. For the most part, if it's out for brief periods, very infrequently. So you don't really notice what it would be like to be without for a long span of time. But if you happen to have a bad storm or something, the power's out for a few days or a week or more, you pretty quickly realize how important it is. And your streaming services don't work without an internet. And so many services that you think would work don't work.
Yeah, I mean, assuming the cellular's up, maybe you could do something on your phone.
Yeah, I did do that eventually.
Yeah.
It only goes so far, though, because especially in power outages, if I tethered my phone over, the speeds are so
Yeah, it'd be
bad.
brutal. Well,
Because
especially if
everyone's
everyone
doing it,
Yeah,
right?
well,
Everyone's
right.
on their
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah, that would be game over.
So
You'd
normally it
crash the
works,
cell
but
tower.
it barely works in a power outage. It's
Yeah.
really slow a lot of
Yeah,
times.
that's true. It's like going to the mall when it's really busy,
Yeah.
and your phone switches to Wi-Fi, and then it just bogs because everyone's
It's like an
phone
airport.
switched to
A
Wi-Fi.
million people
Yeah.
next to each
Yeah.
other.
Football game.
Trade show. Yeah,
I mean
sure.
that's true. I mean that's a part of it, really. I mean, you think about it, especially with higher res files.
Right.
If you were to stream, like now, they keep going up in res. Now we've got lossless files and stuff going with all the major streaming services, and it's more demanding on systems. It is more demanding, you know,
They're
especially if you're
physically large files.
Yeah.
And normally it's not an issue. You have a few 100 megabit internet or whatever. You don't think about these things. If you got a 50 megabyte audio file, it's trivial, right? It starts streaming pretty much instantly. But in a power outage, in a bad storm where you're relying on cellular or other services, it's actually sometimes difficult to be able to stream these things.
Well, I would
you may
imagine-
not have enough bandwidth.
I would imagine too, you run into issues in various countries that don't have stellar
yeah.
internet service.
If the
you know?
infrastructure isn't quite as
I mean,
developed.
like even in U.S., I hear we're not like nowhere near as like Japan is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They're way higher speed than we have, which
Well,
is
a lot of developed countries
are
have
higher
better
speed than we are.
cellular and
Europeans.
internet infrastructure than the U.S.
But I know there's the opposite true. There's a lot of countries that don't have it like us.
Oh, for
you know,
sure.
they're having they'd have a hard time streaming 50 megabyte a sec, you know. So when you think about doing high res anything, it's probably off the table.
Well, 50 megabyte a second would be pretty hard to stream,
Yeah.
like a bit.
Megabit.
Oh,
yeah.
a megabit. Sorry,
It's a
megabit.
big difference.
Did I say byte?
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
Well, as
Divide
I,
by 8.
as I always say, you can create power, but you can't create internet.
Yeah, we need a magic box that makes internet.
So that brings us to the other thing to consider is that going back to collecting music, you know, where people had albums and then they had cassettes and then they had CDs. People traditionally have bought music on some sort of medium or media, you know, and played it and off that and at home or share it. You know, how many times people brought CDs to shows we've done in the
Yep.
past, you know, they'd bring their CDs. It's easy to carry.
That's true. That's
you know,
actually a pretty
they'd get
big
an
point.
album, right? An album to hold 30, 50, or 100 CDs. It's so easy. It weighs 2 pounds, and you got 100 albums in your hand.
Yep.
And
Well, especially
anyone could play it.
when storage was more expensive, you know, having full lossless CDs like took up a lot of space, but just carrying the CD around, you know, no
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. So people would bring their favorite stuff, and it was easy to pop it in and play their favorite track to show them what the speakers sound like or whatever. But bottom line, everyone gets that. I'm sure it's the same if you go to a friend's house or something. It was the same deal. You could bring the music with you. You're not, you know, especially if they don't have a streaming service. Let's say they're not, you know, so okay, now maybe you have it on your phone. You could plug into them, but they probably don't have a DAC, but they've got a computer. You know, I don't know. I'm just saying I don't know. You couldn't, if you had streaming on your phone, there'd be no good way to hook it up to someone else's computer to get sound.
Well, you could do it in a browser.
I
A lot of times you got to be prepared.
but
for
the
these
sound would
things.
still come out of the phone, like, you know what I
You
mean?
just
Where,
use their computer, go
where
on
if they had like a stereo with a CD player and that's all
Yeah,
they
they'd
had.
have to have
Well,
like a computer
yeah.
connected or whatever.
Yeah, but I guess that's
DAC.
true. Almost everyone would have some computer connected to something. You need a DAC.
Well,
Yeah.
it depends on the age group.
Yeah, that's true.
Younger generation, you might be streaming to a speaker of some sort, and then
like a
you don't
Bluetooth?
need
Yeah.
your own infrastructure as long as they have some sort of Bluetooth, Wi-Fi speaker thing or whatever, smart speaker. You could just use your device
Probably
with your
headphones.
service and stream right to that.
I guess most people probably nowadays are running headphones.
But a little bit older generation, that's going to be less common. And then, yeah, especially if you have a traditional 2-channel system, a lot of people aren't going to have some sort of streamer connected to it. If you go to someone else's house that doesn't have a streaming service where you could just send them a link, then what do you do? It isn't
Yeah.
like a physical CD
And
or
they would
something.
have to have like speakers or something because technically it's semi-difficult to share music with two people with 2 headphones because a lot of things don't have 2 headphone jacks.
Well, yeah.
Come to think of it.
Well, not only that, most people don't even have a way to play a CD anymore. Like, it's becoming less and less common.
I
So
remember.
even you bring media with you.
Oh,
It's like,
right.
I don't
yeah, right.
like
It's
your
just-
car doesn't have a CD player anymore in it, you know?
Yeah, that's true. It's just on your phone.
Yeah.
It's stored on your phone. You could play it from there with an app or something. You know, one of the services that I've used in the past and still do is I always liked hdtracks.com because they've always had high-res files available on a majority of music. And usually, like when a new album comes out, pretty much the same time they're going to have a high-res file. You know, and you buy it, right? You pay for this. But bottom line is that HD Tracks has always been cool because they have that stuff. They particularly cater to audio files.
Right.
So they're going to have, you know, your Sarah McLachlan in high res and your, all the
The go-tos.
yeah, absolutely. The stuff
Yeah.
stuff you're always hearing at trade shows.
yeah.
People go, "Oh, play that," but that's the stuff you kind of, to me, like I own a bunch of stuff like that. I have a bunch of DSD. I don't know how much you have. You probably have the same files I have. We used to use.
Oh yeah. I got the Sony what's it, server?
Oh right.
With
Yeah, it holds
2
a
terabyte hard
two.
drive or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we used to take a terabyte or two of music to the shows.
Yeah.
Just bring it on hard drives. It's so easy now to carry. I mean,
Well, this is one of them.
the old Lacey was one of them we
Yeah.
used to use. Yeah, now you can get 3-4 terabytes and stick it in your pocket. And that's what we used to. That's what we use at the can jams and stuff. We'll just throw a shit ton of songs on there. But of course, now we've slowly migrated over to people who want to play anything, and so we've succumbed to the streaming services at trade shows.
Yeah, it's
because
got the pros and cons for sure.
Yeah,
It's
well,
like
the pros are you put people can sit
Right.
there and play anything
Play
they
anything you
want.
want, yeah.
The cons are you got to know what you want to play.
well, that
and I have a hard time with that. I know a lot of
sometimes
people
the
do.
internet though, because everybody's streaming now.
Oh right.
So it's like, yeah, it's a little slow.
Yeah.
A little,
You're all fighting for the same internet connection
Right.
in a ballroom with
Right.
150 different vendors playing, well, plus the iPhones and everything else in
Yep.
there. There's a couple thousand devices on the local network in a hotel, and that could be a problem sometimes. Yeah. They're usually pretty good with it, but bottom
You have
line,
no control. So
Yeah.
and even at home that could happen too if you got enough kids and stuff on the friggin' internet around, to stream. But bottom line is that would be a good way to hdtracks.com would be a good way to buy your music, have some local music available, particularly the stuff you really like. Because even if you stream it, you're probably not going to get it anywhere near the res that they have the files like that they have it at.
well, it depends what it is, obviously.
Yeah, it varies by artist and all that, and album. I mean, you're going to see like 192, 24-bit. Usually the worst they have is usually like 96K 24-bit, and even higher. I'm sure they go up, and I don't know if they sell DSD. I think they do, but bottom line is that, I think there's other services online where you can buy music too. CDs still exist, although now they're lowbrow compared to.
Well,
Kinda
vinyl
get
surpassed it
yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Sales of vinyl surpassed CD. I think.
Have
yeah.
it? Oh man, so CDs are kind of gone by the wayside at this point.
you don't see anyone using them
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, most people are running files. Most of the younger generation's got storage. Storage is cheap now too.
Right.
I mean, what's it cost for a couple terabytes? Under $100, I think, for a
Yeah.
portable
Yeah.
drive. Yeah. So it's pretty easy to buy some music. But keep in mind that when you pay for music and you buy it, you got to back it up. You got to keep a copy
Well,
somewhere.
yeah. Unlike a CD, yeah. Anything happens to your computer.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you should always have a backup somewhere, always with your music. So if you buy one drive, you're gonna have to buy two,
Of at least the same capacity.
or put it on your computer and then a drive separate or something like that. But yeah, you always want to back it up. It's no different than anything. You think about back in the day, photography's like that too. You know how many people lose pictures on their phones because the phone takes a crap,
Oh.
and they didn't back up their phone. Something as simple as that, you could lose.
Yeah, you never think
10
about it
10
until
years
it's gone,
of freaking
right?
photos of your family. Yeah. So backing up any data is kind of pretty damn important nowadays, particularly if you paid for it or if you ever want to use it again in the future. Anyway, on that note, we talked about HD Tracks because they recently emailed me a link to, and by the way, we're not sponsored by them or nothing. They don't pay us for this. We're a manufacturer. We're not making money off of YouTube. We're making money selling headphones. But they sent a link for free stuff, for free, 20 some albums, not albums,
Album tracks.
music, tracks, high res to try out, all samplers for free. So anyway, we'll post the link at the top below our description here. Anyone wants free, downloadable, high res music to give it a try. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool. And you compare it to streaming, So see what you think. We've done it before. It's
See if you notice a difference.
yeah.
Haven't done it in a while though.
Yeah.
Might have to try it.
Yeah. There's nothing like a DSD file. Like I've always appreciated. That's pretty big files.
Yes.
But those have been my favorite. But you got to have the DAC and the setup to play it. But most stuff nowadays you could play DSD with.
It's getting more common.
Just
Yeah.
about any DAC nowadays. Yeah. So
At least in my generation, for the most part, I didn't really know anyone that was into music enough to have hordes of CDs. And me, myself, I probably only owned like maybe 15 albums or something like that I purchased myself. But there is something to be said about the physical media, about having the actual album. And you have all the little artwork and stuff like that, the notes that they put in there. And it's kind of fun, but I don't really miss it with streaming. It would be nice to have some sort of physical thing, especially if you really like that artist. You could look through this curated experience that the artist put together for you. But with streaming, the difference is you're able to listen to almost anything you would want to think of, anything you know to exist. You could probably find it and play it.
Yeah, but it's almost daunting at that point. That's the
So
problem.
there's
Like,
it's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
Like I see the search bar, right? I go, okay, what should I type
Right.
in there? And I go blank. I'm like, okay, I know the usual suspects,
Right.
but you just kind of go blank, you know?
The discovery is the hard part.
Yeah.
And it really changed the game, because before, although it was hard to find an artist, and probably even harder so back in the day, I think because of these barriers, people were more likely to share music. At least in my experience, people were more likely to say, hey, did you hear this? Or did you try that? Or whatever. And you see less of that now. Now I
That's
think
true.
people are their own little bubble more often. And maybe they share stuff with you and links and stuff like that. That still happens. But it doesn't seem as exciting as it once was, as involved of an experience as it used to be, because people would have the physical album and they would listen to it a bunch of times. And then oftentimes you give it to your friends and they would try, or they would listen to it too. And that happens much less. Now it's kind of like everyone's more on their own.
Well, yeah. I mean, with streaming services, they always got the curated for you section,
Yeah.
right? And that just keeps getting more and more for you. And it does help, because, yeah, you sit there and you're like, I don't know what I want to listen to. But it's like, I'll give you a suggestion. You know, it's like, oh, I'll try that. Or new albums come out and you already have them. You didn't need to go to the store to pick them up. It's like, oh, this just came
Yeah.
out today?
It's a
I didn't
very
even know
different
about it,
experience.
right? So, yeah, it's quite different.
But
Come to think of it, the other thing I think too is that a lot of people keep mentioning Roon, you know, Roon,
yeah,
and I think they're like, when you get their device for the home, it kind of situates itself, finds all the music in your home, streaming, blah, blah. It's like a one go-to.
Streamlines.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool, because a lot of people run it. I know a lot of people run that. So if you're running the likes of Roon and you bring local files into the system, it'll find that,
Right.
and you could play it just as easy from that hub or
Yep.
you know, that interface as you can anything else. So actually, that's kind of a cool. A lot of people swear by it. They said it's just so easy to use, and it's got all kinds of cool features. I have yet to try it.
No, you did.
I mean, I don't own it.
Oh, you're right.
Sorry.
Well, you tried
I've
it. With Speaker Shop
Yeah.
uses it.
Yeah. Locally, our speaker shop has it.
Yeah. It's cool how just like everything just works.
Yeah, it just knows everything, and there's everything, whether it be on a NAS drive in the home, the streaming services, whatever. It's all in one. So kind of cool.
I don't know. I would say for the younger generation, streaming is pretty much ubiquitous at this point, and it's the only game in town for the most part. But it'd be interesting to hear if other people out there find some sort of superior benefits to physical media that I didn't, or none of us mentioned in this video.
Yeah, actually, in the comments, let us know what you guys are using.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the list. Give us the whole friggin' list. What is it that you listen to on your system when you're just listening? Okay, we could cover background music too, maybe too, but you know, just serious listening. Well, what do you use? What's everyone really?
What do you
what's
use and
their
why you
go-to?
like it, though?
Yeah, right. That'd be cool too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it'll vary by age, though.
Yeah. Well, that's okay too.
Well, you know, the younger generations get more into vinyl now, so yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
But it is kind of...
Well, it'd be cool to see who's
It's like an
using
auxiliary
Because
thing.
to come to think of it, you know, we don't talk about that much. I mean,
Right.
you know, everyone just kind of assumes we're listening to music, which we are, but no one talks about what you're listening to. I mean, for what
Format.
on your what
Yeah.
format? No one really talks about that.
No,
Come to
not
think
so
of it.
much,
Yeah.
because there's so many options.
We'll have to
now.
do a video just on that.
Maybe we'll do that, yeah.
Yeah. On that note, we better get back to work
Okay.
because Christmas is coming and everyone wants their headphones.
And they do.
Do that, yeah.
Thanks everyone for watching. Subscribe to us. We got more coming, and take care.